buy box. I was supposed to work out just before we came on which episode we're on now. It's like 30 or something like that. I can't remember because we've been doing this for quite a while. And as most of our regular viewers will know, that I'm often joined by somebody new. And tonight I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the lovely Luke Duggan. Hi, Luke. Good evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, you're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure everyone who knows that you're going to be on tonight has got lots of questions. So if you've got any questions for Luke about selling on Amazon, Luke's been doing it forever. He's got tons and tons of experience about selling on Amazon. So hopefully there will be some good information. As ever, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in the crazy world of Amazon. But what I do want to do, first of all, is just double check we have in fact gone live, because this technology at the moment is super glitchy. Let's have a quick look. Normally someone said hi by now, so we've been talking for a good minute, and
well, no one wants to see me. That's probably what it is.
they do. I promise you, Luke, they do. They absolutely do. So let me just double check that we have actually gone live. It just takes a couple of seconds. Hi guys. Right, that's reassuring. As soon as the messages come through, you should be able to see them your end as well, Luke.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
All right, there we go. So it's just going to take a couple of minutes to catch up. So Jackie says, hi, guys. Evening, Jackie. Hope you're well. Vlad said evening. Evening, Vlad again. Hope you're well. Ray, hope you're well. Well, I hope everyone's well, obviously, with everything going on. And we have also got Sean Massive Action Gilbert is in the house as well as Nikkei. So good to see you all. Marlu, evening. Simona, hello. Everyone hopefully will just kind of keep piling in as we are going along. So for those of you that are just joining us, I'm joined this evening by Luke, who's going to tell us a little bit about his kind of Amazon journey and where it all started and where he kind of sees it going, hopefully, and, you know, hopefully pick up a few kind of golden nuggets along the way. But we always do a little bit of Amazon news before we get started. And obviously the big news on Vlad says, all good, can see and hear you. Brilliant. Thanks for confirming that, Vlad. Yeah, the technology is a bit glitchy, or it has been the last couple of weeks. So it actually looks like it's going all right tonight, which is fingers crossed, which is really good. Good to hear. So yeah, lots of people joining. We'll say hello to everyone, and you know, as we periodically are going along. Luke has been selling on Amazon forever. So not forever. Sorry, you're not as old as me. But you have been selling on Amazon for ages. And so if you've got any questions as we're going along for Luke about general selling on Amazon, or I think you'll be okay. I mean, you say it freely yourself anyway. I mean, you mainly focus on replenishable goods, as you know, right in saying. So if anyone's got any questions along that, along the evening, then please feel free to drop them in the chat box. Please, can you give us, actually, before we start chatting, anyone that's watching, can you give us lots of likes and lots of hearts and happy faces and everything like that? Because we know it does help with the algorithm, with pushing it out to everybody in the group to let everyone know that we are live. So I haven't done that for a while. So if you can give us lots of kisses and hugs, and no, not kisses and hugs. I don't know why I said that. So likes and loves. That's what I meant to say, essentially. Yeah, here they go. They're coming in now. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. So, Luke, it's been a bit crazy the last...
Recently, yeah. I've only noticed it's about since March. Yeah, since March. You mean about everything?
Yeah, I think with everything that's kind of going on at the moment, realistically, it's been probably... Yeah, it's probably maybe first week of March that things just went a bit crazy. We noticed that obviously things were starting to kick off, things were starting to sell out, and certain items were selling out a lot quicker than other items. And I suppose just in line with everything that's going on in the world right now, it kind of has pushed it. We all know that it's pushed Amazon to the forefront of, you know, worldwide retail, essentially. So just talk us through a little bit, kind of from your point of view, because obviously you have done phenomenally well ever since you've been an Amazon seller anyway. Very successful Amazon seller, very knowledgeable Amazon seller. But just talk us through, from your point of view, these guys, hear from me all the time, what it's been like, with everything that's going on over the last month.
Well, I mean, luckily, I came into the year looking at everything as a year, as I always see the year as one. Instead of looking at a month as in months, I look at it as a year now, because I've done it enough and I have enough capital behind me to actually sort of have that mindset, which is something you get to as every year you sort of have a little bit more of a longer term mindset, because you've also done it when you're starting out. So maybe not, and so I had quite a lot. I had the same amount of stock come February that I had in, say, September. It wasn't the same stock, but it was just the units wise. I was really because of the replenishable system I do, pretty much 90% of the products, maybe 95, are the same as I sold last year. And then, you can keep going back probably and find stuff that I sold years ago that I still sell. I add to that over the years, but because of the way I build up the replenishable system and the list that I have, I'm able to know that I already can plan for Christmas, for example. So I thought, well, why look at everything in a bit of a smaller, even just quarters? I'll look at everything as a year. I know what I'll get in, and I'll just try to pump it in as fast as I can to cover all those potential out of stock products that might come, because you do have, now and then you do notice one item sells far more than you expect. But if you add those all up, and when you're a larger seller, it can start to be hundreds of pounds a week. So my mindset was, if I just cover all of that rather than focusing on building sort of more replenishables, because you can always build on top. If I focus on just filling the gaps or filling the holes, like putting a little cork in a sinking ship sort of thing. Like if you've got enough holes, it actually sinks the ship. So
sailing out.
So I was like, if I just keep trying to, make sure I'm in stock, or basically overstock on everything I have. If I ever have any fluctuations in my overall, that line seems to be doing 3-4 times better than I thought. Why is that? And sometimes it just does. It's just, just changes. Or sometimes maybe there's Easter, or that, there's this little thing sometimes. And I thought I'll focus on that, and then push forward as I go through the year. So when it started to really hit, well, the first thing I knew is when I started doing over £1,000 in a day. Pretty much it must have been the first day that everyone started noticing something was up. And I think I even got one of my best days at like £6,000 or something. And that sort of day wouldn't happen unless it was Q4. But the problem with that is now you haven't got enough stock as well. So it was just trying to manage that. And now, a month later, I'm probably out of stock on like half, maybe over half, 60%. And I'm still doing all right. I know I'm not going to do as much as I could, the potential, because it's just not. It's there if you really maybe you have wholesale contacts or something. But doing online arbitrage, you can now and then, if you're proactive, find ways around it, or you find your same items in other places, or just understand how the systems are working, like when they release. Like just knowing at 9 o'clock every day the website sort of allows orders, and some don't. Some have just done it like that. Some have delayed shipping. So I've been proactive in trying to plan for what I want in a month. So I'm overbuying now, even just on the things that I can get hold of, trying to, and I'll still do well. I think I've done already £25,000 this month, and that's, to me, that's if I think what I actually thought I'd be doing.
Yeah,
it's already way over, and it, even though I'm like, the potential, I looked at it, I was like, I wonder what if it was yesterday, I divided the total by 6, it was the 6th. And I was like, I times it by 30 and see what it would be. And it was like £100,000. And I was like, I know that won't happen. But it was just like, okay, well, actually, it's going to be far better than what I wanted anyway. So if I could just be proactive in trying to capture 30% of that, that's still going to be double or whatever it would be of what I would have assumed for, this period in the year anyway. That's the sort of way I've gone about everything.
And I think that's a really sensible approach at the end of the day, because I alluded to it. I put a Facebook post in Secret Wealth this week, and it actually came as a result of conversations I've been having with a few coaching clients and various people that I've been speaking to, is that this year hasn't turned out, is not going the way we thought it was going to. But that's not necessarily a bad thing for some people and their business. There's going to be so much opportunity on Amazon over the next 12 months. It's just ridiculous. But if you haven't taken into account the changes that Amazon are going to go through over the next 12 months in the goals that you've set yourself, the targets you've set yourself for this year, then you really should take the time to do that, because we're looking at a very different beast that we were looking at even back in January, even back in February, to be perfectly honest. The shift has happened so quickly to so many people's businesses and people. I would have, you'd asked me 6 weeks ago, if somebody had said to me, what is the safest business to be in on Amazon in terms of stability and growth and things like that, and always being able to get stock, I would probably go along with something like replenishables, to be perfectly honest. It's, for me, it's one of the biggest areas people can see stable growth over a period of time. Doesn't require huge amounts of investment to get started, because you can build it slowly and, like you say, keep plugging the gaps and things like that. But obviously, with the areas where it's becoming more difficult to get stock, certainly over the last couple of weeks or so, but people have got to remember that although we talked about this yesterday, we're not returning to I don't think we're going to return to normal effectively. I think we're all, this is going to change. Yeah, this is going to change everything, and we'll talk about that a bit more later on. But I think once those kind of opportunities become available again, so just to let everyone know, because you're purely OA, aren't you? You're not wholesale or anything. You're not OA, you're just OA.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just OA. And a lot of people kind of poo-poo nowadays whether or not those sort of figures, and so let's take it back a little bit, really, because I want to talk about the Q4 that you had as well, which I know quite a few people know that you had a phenomenal Q4. But why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started and why you got started, for those of you that don't know you in the group, if that's okay?
Of course, yeah. So I think I started, I always forget. It's actually, yeah, so the Q4 I've just had was my fourth Q4. But the very first Q4 I started in December. That was my first month. So it was the December, whatever year that was, many bygones ago. Yeah, it would have been.
No, 17 probably, if it was your fourth.
It would have been my ninth. Because it would have been 16 would have been December, 17, 18, 19 we just had, and then obviously like 14 days after well, the first would be after Christmas. And so I started there, and that's where I did £1,000. I think I did like £1,200. And back then, in my job as a finance assistant, I was literally getting £1,200 a month. And I was like 27 then, or 28? I don't even know what I was. Anyway, it's besides the point. I was like, the whole thing was like, I can work my way up the ladder, but I will probably be dead by the time I get 40 grand. Or so, that I was already getting. It was just like mind-numbing, the whole, just everything. Just sort of got disillusioned with it all. And I always sort of tried little things since I was maybe like 16 or 15. Like in the affiliate marketing world and building websites and stuff. But I didn't really, it was just off my own creation. I didn't even know if it's a thing, like drop shipping like 8-9 years ago. I was like, I can, I didn't even know if it was really a thing, if people even made money from it. But over the years, eventually you get to a point where like, right, and then I just took the plunge, bought the stuff. My brother thought I was stupid. He basically, because I lived with my brother at the time, he's like, why are you buying all this stuff? I was like, no, it's fine. It's going to work. And I've done a month's research. Like I spent a month just watching YouTube. Then my first test month was December. And that's probably the best month almost to get not a full reflection of what's sustainable or what's going to happen, but just, it was the best. If I did it in January, I probably would have been like, done 120 pounds and maybe been a bit more, is this a thing? But when I did it in December, I actually was like, because a lot of people don't believe until even though everyone says what you can do, they don't believe it's real. Even though a lot of people will go, "Oh, that guy's lying." You know, like there's just some sort of disconnect there between that some people sometimes have. But they only, once they actually have their first Q4, if they're really doing it properly, is when they realize, oh. And I always say, like, your first year should be very much like for me, my first year was just a break-even year, and it was trying everything out, literally everything, prep service, all the deal sheets. That, you know, a lot back then there was hardly anything really, but I was just trying everything out, and I got just what did I like, what did I not just like, but what worked for me, the way I think, because some people think very technical, some people are just very hands-on, and it just depends on what fits for you. And over time, I built this replenishable list over the years, and then I realized, oh, I'm just using my replenishable list. And then that enabled me to, because I was basically spending lots in my first year. I think I was spending like, you know, £300, £400, £500 on just all these different services. And I was like, and it took me a while to in some months to pay that back. And so I was like, oh, it had a great Q4, but then I'm eating into all of that in January. And then I was like, then I had a secondary like, oh, so how do I then improve this? And then it just sort of created, even though replenishable is not an obvious thing, it's not unique to me, it's not unique to anyone. It is literally something that someone buys and they'll buy again.
Yeah.
And then they can buy again because it's like maybe because most of the time consumable. Like they have to consume this, you know, something or use it. And I just sort of, and then also because I found for me that those sort of products were less account health risky. So like it was less chance to have any, like beauty was having issues here and there with like warnings and stuff. I was looking at more the longer term. I'd rather take a little bit less money, you know, like overall, and grow my business over the longer term, but actually have it like there for like 3-4 years, not think of it as a month or will I have an account in 6 months. And then that then created the sort of system I have, which is going off my replenishable sheet. And I probably could sell like 3 times that with everything I've ever seen over the years, but I just keep it and I build on it, you know, 1 lead here or 1 lead a week is, you know, 52 a year. After a couple of years, that's all you need to be doing what I've done.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's not really any more complex than that, but it's just thinking that it's actually just, it might take you 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but people can develop at their own kind of pace, obviously. That's what I also do like about replenishables as well. So, because there are people out there that will sort of say, can't do this business unless you've got 10 grand anymore. You can't do this and you can't do that. But with something like replenishables, you can start it small and you can gradually build up. And providing you're not essentially in a hurry, you know, I've always said from the start that it depends. Of course, the more capital you have, the more opportunity you have to be able to scale quickly. It's, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but you can still start this business. I had someone on here last week, a lady called Susan, who's well known in the group as well, and she started on really low capital and she scaled up phenomenally over the last year. And it's probably a very similar story to yours in the sense that you try a few different things within this business. You know, you try this and you try that, you find what works for you and you focus on that area. And that's what I think the key is for a lot of people. The people that I've seen who are most successful in this business find the area. Maybe they might not necessarily be the area that, you know, they like or it's really passionate about, but it's working for them essentially. So I think that your story is very consistent. Your journey is very consistent with anyone who comes on this, you know, kind of show, or anyone that's in the Facebook groups that has real success within Amazon. It's finding that one area that you enjoy, that one area that works for you, trying all the different areas and not getting disillusioned, but at the same time leveraging and understanding. And something I wanted to pick back up on, and which you said, which I 100% agree with. Nobody believes this business works until they see it for themselves, and generally that is their first Q4. And it may not necessarily be like yourself. It wasn't a huge amount, but you saw the power of Amazon at that time. Now, a lot of people that are starting the business this year are experiencing that a lot earlier than they would do now. Yeah, with everything that's kind of going on at the moment. So what I find really, really interesting is, people are going to get the opportunity now to have a taste, to see that, all of us that do this sort of thing, that run Facebook groups and that type of thing, that we're not lying about any of this. This stuff really, really does work. But at the same time, it's not easy. This isn't an easy business, is it, Luke?
I mean, like, I sort of say to people that speak to me, I say sometimes it's not sexy. Like there are times where people try to, but I'm like, well, it can be sexy, but I prefer to actually make more money, because I don't really, it can be as sexy as you want, but if you only make £1,000 a month, it's great, still great, but I'd rather try to make as much as I can. I'd rather try to make 10. And yeah, it may not be as sexy, but that's sort of how I see it. But each person's different. Some people just want it to be a part-time income, maybe, and then therefore there's certain adaptations to that which are not going to be applicable to everyone, and same to me and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's expectations are different. Everybody has different targets and different goals. And, what somebody might be selling at, because it's a supplemental income or something like that. They've never got any, any real desire to turn this into a full-time business. That might be what they might be interested in earning full time. You can never judge anybody's figures. You can only focus on your own journey at the end of the day, and that's the really important part of it. But I always find it quite interesting, and anyone that comes on here, I always like them to share it, because it's so different for different people. And I think I could be wrong in saying we've known each other for quite a long time in this Amazon business, and I think you're definitely one of the most consistent people that I've seen. You're just consistently good, all year with your products, and that works really nicely with the replenishable model. I think if you like consistency.
I mean, did just stumble on it. Well, you say that, but it's like I tried everything, therefore I'm only going to ever stumble on I'm only ever going to stumble on it as well, because I did try everything.
Exactly. So it's not really.
It's hard to say. You kind of get what I'm trying to say both ways. But I didn't set out on the beginning, right, this is what I'm going to do, because actually there is no right way, and each person sort of find that path. So I could tell people exactly how to do this, but they might find it demoralizing, and actually that nothing actually materializes. So it's not even necessarily about that. It's about there are many different ways that you can do it. That's what you sort of need to know as well. And they both, at the end, sort of create the same outcome.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was a really interesting point, and I often refer to that as well, is sexy products on Amazon. We talk about it with people, and especially people that don't sell on Amazon. So if I'm having like a conversation with someone and they say, what do you do? And I explain what I do. And they say, oh, yeah, I've maybe thought about once, if they actually realize that Amazon is a selling platform, of course, once we get past that conversation.
Yeah.
One thing people will sort of like say, oh, I thought about selling on Amazon. And then whatever comes out of their mouth generally is the things that we all know don't sell on Amazon or are saturated on Amazon. And, there's nothing wrong with that. It's because they haven't been doing it a long time. They don't have the experience, obviously. But, generally people always say to me, do you know what? I've always wanted to own my own skincare brand, or I've always wanted to do this. Of course, I'm talking about more on the private label side of things.
Yeah, yeah.
The areas on Amazon.
That's my mum.
They're the most sexy areas. Who doesn't want to own their own skincare brand, especially if you're a female, not being sexist, but you are. Who doesn't want to own their own makeup line, or who doesn't want to own this, or who doesn't want to own that? But it's generally those products that you think about first are the ones that are the most saturated, to be perfectly honest. And I've always said to people, I focus on bundles and things like that. I've always said you kind of got to think of the things that are not particularly sexy. And, you might end up bundling together, I don't know, windscreen wipers or something like that, because it's the products that people want on an everyday basis. And certainly when I source now, I think I've always done it anyway, but I always source from the basis of the customer. I never source on the basis of what I think will sell. I always try and get into the mindset of the customer, and I think that works really well for eliminating those sexy products, because when I think about what I want to sell, what I physically want to sell, and what does sell are two different things.
It's like the way I try to. I think I've been quite like this from the beginning, which I guess has helped. Is that the data doesn't lie. So this could be a real example. I sell mustard, you know, like some just, and it's like, and I'll be like, oh, people are going to pay, you know, $6.99 for a mustard, like, you know, just and I'm like, but it's irrelevant. I don't think, you know, it's not even about me. So, you know, it's not about me. I'm like, well, the data basically says it's fine. The history, like the keeper data, you know, you can look for about 2-3 years. It's irrelevant what I think. You know, I don't. It's just yes, and then that's as easy, you know, as it can be. And sometimes that's a bit, you know, your own emotions actually like making it 3 times more complex than it could be.
And that's a really interesting thing. And I'm going to comment. So I know we've had some questions in a moment, but again, just wanted to pick that, and that's why I love doing this, because you know you really get the opportunity. People get the opportunity to see inside different sellers' minds and things like that. Is that do you think it would be fair comment to say for anyone that's maybe not been doing this who's watching, that have maybe not been doing this for a long time, that you almost have to ignore your own instincts a little bit in the sense that if you're looking at something and you kind of can't work out why it's selling, but the data's telling you it is selling, and you kind of just have to go against, I'm not talking about gut instincts, that's a different thing, but I'm talking about logic. Do you feel, I sometimes feel that selling on Amazon goes against kind of all levels of logic a little bit?
Yeah, it does. Like if I ever say to a friend, oh, I'm selling, you know, because like I live with my mate, so he might say, oh, what's this? I was like, oh, it's mustard. Or what, yeah, you know, just that's the example we use. And it's like, oh, how much does that sell for? I said $7.99 or $6.99. He's like, what? It's a quid in Tesco. Or it's, you know, like it's a quid in B&M. I'm like, this is normally what the example I'll do. I'll give somebody like a pack of 2 of these or something, and I'll say, how much is this? Without almost seeing the price, because you've got a price reference to this, you then create you're like, of course it's $2.99 or 12, as in, you know, this could be $12.99 for 2, or you could see this for $2.99 and like a B&M, and actually both of them would be, I could see both of them being, you know, somewhere like that. But actually, I don't know the price, and one's like 10 times higher than the other one. But because you've got a price there on Amazon, you're like, well, that's too expensive. And then I like to flip it on its head as well and think, what if a person wants one item, would they just drive to the shop for like the mustard?
No.
So if they're already getting something, if they're taking time, like petrol, you know, or, you know, effort, there are other things as well that, you know, you can get to, but again, the data will tell you that, like, it's represented in the data. It doesn't really matter why, and the data will tell you. That's how I sort of go about.
And absolutely, I think, yeah, you've just hit the nail on the head. So I think sometimes as human beings, we try and analyze too much, and we try and work out why somebody wants to pay £9 for a jar of mustard or whatever. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter why. You know, as long as everything within the data supports the fact that it's selling at that price, it's selling consistency, it's that, you know, it's selling at a certain amount a month. There's not a million bad reviews on there that are saying, oh, well, you can buy this for 99p in Iceland or something like that. But then even saying that, I see, you know, a lot of replenishables do have those bad reviews, and it doesn't really put people off because they're not review-driven products, essentially. Whereas when you've got private label products, where reviews are so important for private label products, for replenishable products, people, it's a trusted brand. If you've got some Heinz tomato ketchup or something like that, a review saying, oh, I could have bought it at this, or I could have, but that's not going to, if that person wants it, that's not going to put that person off because it's a trusted brand at the end of the day. So there's so many elements, and it's so interesting because there's so much buyer and customer kind of psychology, I think, in the buying process and all of it. And sometimes, so I think that's a really great bit of advice from you there, Luke, that you kind of have to throw logic out the window essentially and follow the data. That's the most important part. And I think, you know, most people would that have been doing it for a long time would absolutely agree with you on that. But I think we've had a few questions, so
Sure.
Let's jump in. We've had loads of other people join, so welcome everyone. I'm not going to go through and say hello to everyone. Well, okay. Michelle, Colin, Darren, Susan, Inga, Sean, Matt, Saranji, Emily, Tim, Fran, Vlad. Oh, Vlad again. He must have gone and come back. Nicola, Amar, Danny, Chica, and Luke are watching. So evening, everyone. I hope everyone's well and staying safe. So we've had a few questions, and I've just got to go and scroll back. Sean says, I'm confused why some Easter eggs I can send in, but some I can't. My merchant sales are going crazy. So yeah, pardon?
If you know Amazon well enough, you know that they don't really have a consistency. I guess the word would be sometimes.
Yeah,
like with what you can sell and what you can send in and what you can't. It's just made. It's done by an algorithm, I guess, and that's just how it's materialized.
Yeah. I think essentially it probably will come down to, I could be, this is my own thoughts on it.
Well, actually, go on, I'll let you go.
Oh no, I was going to say I've got two sides on it. I think one will be, it could be brand, dependent on the brand. So if you've got like Cadbury, they're probably going to be considered like more, I don't know, more essential maybe than something like a really, really luxurious like brand of chocolate, maybe. And also, I think age of listing as well. So if the listing, I think, is really old and really established on Amazon, I think there's more chance of it being classed as an essential as opposed to, something that may have been listed maybe just a couple of weeks ago in the last 6 weeks in the run-up that we would see Easter eggs and seasonal products normally listed on Amazon. I think it's more down to the age of the listing, if I'm being perfectly honest. But as you said, it's algorithmic based, and
that's not. Yeah, I guess I would. I mean, I originally actually then came up with the assumption, well, maybe it's based on profits, but I think there's a lot of pressure on them at the moment as well. So I can't always take what they're, you kind of, but as in I was going to say, if the highest profits items that they're getting from people that are actually allowed to send them in, why wouldn't they? But yeah, I know there's far too much for us to even really comprehend anyway.
To be perfectly honest, I think you could waste a month trying to work out why Amazon do certain things and why they don't do other things. You just got to roll with the punches, and you just got to roll with what's available now and what isn't. Don't forget Easter's this Sunday. But top tip I'm going to give everyone right now, if you look back on the data last year for all Easter eggs and things like that, and I suspect it will even be more so this year. For those of you that can get hold of Easter eggs now, don't be worried about sales drying up for Easter eggs past Sunday. Sales of Easter eggs continue for a good month or so after Easter. Obviously, you have to go back and check the graphs and check the sales data just to make sure that that's absolutely true for the listing that you are looking at. But for some reason, Easter eggs don't really just sell in the 2 weeks around Easter. I did a video back in the start of January about showing how the BSR is gradually dropping for people love buying Easter eggs. They love eating Easter eggs. And I think now that we're all in lockdown and stuck in anyway, people are going to love buying and eating Easter eggs even more. So if you get a chance to buy some this week, don't think, oh, well, Easter's on Sunday. That's it. I'm not going to buy any. Check the listing. Go back and check on this time last year. And I guarantee you, in most of the I'm talking the big kind of branded Easter eggs, your Maltesers and your Cadbury's cream eggs and things like that, that those sales will continue on for quite a bit longer. They're not going to be as mad as they are right now in this week. But I would suggest that if you go back and look at the data, you will see that they're probably continuing on for a good month or so afterwards. So it's just a little tip if you can get hold of the Easter eggs at the moment. If you can't, then hard cheese, essentially, unfortunately. Emily says, so this is one for you, Luke, says that in normal times, how much stock of a replen do you hold? Is it a month or 90 days, for example? That's a really good question.
Well, there's like one factor I'm starting to think of more is the expiry. Because a lot of stuff you have to enter expiry for, even if some of it's not even got really an expiry date, like some sort of thing. It's that has a 12 months on opening. Is that right, or something like that? You have to like some sort of pet food and stuff, but they still are sometimes for like expiry dates. So I normally put like 12 months on that, but the other items, I've got to bear that in mind. But lately, I've been trying to. It's hard to say. So beginning of this year, I thought, well, all my replenishables are the same as what I'll be selling later on this year. So actually, I was basically overbuying. I had the stock, I had the capital available from Q4 that I'd made, and I thought, well, I could have it sitting there, but due to like loads of sort of slightly more in-depth things such as VAT and that, I wanted to front load my purchasing, to offset some Q4 like VAT stuff. But that's all like a completely another
Q4 nastiness factor. Yeah.
But the only good thing is that it can be postponed until the VAT for my VAT for that for December, January, February. So my December month can actually be postponed until
March,
April.
Because I know we've had this conversation before. I know we've had this conversation before.
We have,
and your VAT falls very kindly for this situation, hasn't it?
Yeah.
When is it your first month of the Q4 is December or something like that?
So I like a $9,500 bill for this quarter. But now I can actually, and I was like, oh my God, it can't be that. And I was spending like an extra couple of days. I was like, something's wrong. So I was like, and then I looked and I realized how many like 20% products I sold. And I was like, oh, because obviously that's what happens over Q4. And that's fair enough. That's just what I'd have to, but then obviously now I can hold it back until next month. Is it March or April? Which luckily for me, but there was loads of things like that. I'd say for stock quantities, I had 2,500 in February units, and it could be anything from 10 or 5 to 10 on some listings. So I do go down to maybe only items that do sell five a month, because if you can find 100 of those products, it does start to mount up. And it's probably even 3, 4, 5 times that on the actual platform that you could potentially find. So it's actually, don't think I only focus on maybe something that's 50 units or above or 100 units or above. And I could even go up to a couple of 100 units on some of the faster selling lines. And I was just trying to get to the point where I could front load that, and then I could focus on maybe having a week off to focus on another project, because I've proactively been, sending in more stock. But I had 2,500. That would be great for this Q4, depending on what happens. I could have maybe 6,000. It could even be something like 10, at this rate, with the amount of like extra capital I can get, and just by the the enhanced sales. Who knows? But I just every year I try to think, well, where was I last year? I'll double it for next year. And so if you have 200 units this year, this time next year maybe you have 4, but you're in the same position, and that sort of thing. But it was almost never enough. There's always something you haven't got enough of somewhere, and you can always find,
Well, that sort of approach essentially has served you really well with this current situation.
Exactly, it has, yeah.
I'm a little bit of the opposite with replenishables. I replenish the items as they sell, essentially month by month. Now, obviously, there's no right or wrong way, guys. So there's no right or wrong way. Now, obviously, in this situation, Luke's done phenomenally well out of it, because he's replenished all of those goods, thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll plug that hole and I'll put that back in stock for 4 or 5 months, something like that. And you probably sold out in about 2 weeks, with this current situation. And some people would say that's luck. Some people would say whatever. And yes, we couldn't predict what was going to happen, but you've put yourself in the game, essentially. You've put yourself in that position. So I'd argue with anyone that did say it's, pure luck, because I don't believe in pure luck. I believe that you've got to be in the position to take advantage of a certain situation. So it's going to be, I would say, it's going to come down to personal preference. It's going to come down to budgets and things like that. I like replenishables from a low-cost startup point of view. So if you can replenish those items. If it's only selling 5 a month, you only need to buy 5, and you can slowly build up your inventory. You're kind of snowball effect rolling inventory from that point of view. But also, if you've got the capital to do it, do you never worry about the listing getting ruined? So, and you've bought 6 months of stock.
So the reason that I don't, and the reason that the reason I basically did that is because I thought 95% of the products I sold this year, I sold last year.
Yeah.
But I just didn't sell enough. I just didn't have enough of it.
Yeah.
So if all I do is just buy more, I double my sales. That's the sort of mindset I was thinking. And even with Q4, I'm like, oh, so I look at, I analyze the data, and there are times, 5%, I'd say 5% of the listings do get ruined, or they're just not in, people aren't interested in them, and it happens. But it's not, it just the ones I've got happen. It's so little and just so rare that it happens. It could be just one every couple of months, or 10 a year, 10 listings over 250 lines or something.
Wow. Okay, that's a really percentage.
There are some that I just can't get, again, or it's not as easy to get, that's just how it is. But otherwise, it will be something like that.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer in, and I've proved it time and time again, with posts in the group and showing people and things like that, that even if a listing does get ruined, it often bounces back after 4, 5, 6 months anyway. I know that sounds a really long period of time, but when you're constantly doing this, if you have a list of items that kind of get known, I suppose, to the wider OA community, who maybe, I'm not going to say don't know what they're doing, because I think that's an unfair judgment, but I think, because everyone has different selling strategies, everyone sells for different reasons at different profit levels and things like that. But I think sometimes if you keep hold of those replenishables, if you keep an eye on them, that they do end up bouncing back, people forget about them, and you can roll back on into them, certainly if it's over a Q4 period or something like that.
A nice tip that I like is that if I find one product, which is a replenishable, there probably is, because it's also a replenishable, it should have a bundle version equivalent. It should have a 2-pack, 3-pack, 4, 5, 6. You can go, I think 12 is the highest I go, but you can probably get 20. You can basically go forever almost. So there have been times where one version of that will go just get ruined. It will either have no buy. That's usually what happens. The buy box will disappear. That's usually the most common thing that Amazon will just do on the listing.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, everyone just tries to get to the top of that second page. Well, maybe they don't, but that's just the way I see it. And so before all that, I normally give it about a week or two to see if it's going to give me something, if it does recover, because it can. It's a bit, or I just recall it and then split it up into the other equivalents.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't actually have to or I eat it, or I use it, I can, and that's the great thing about replenishables. It does happen that things are half busted, and you think, I just put it in the fridge. The mustard. I love mustard. I love mustard now. Honestly, I love mustard now.
That is amazing. I have never heard anybody say that in terms of, how to deal with returns. Luke Dawson says, eat it.
Perfect.
It is perfect.
Yes.
No, it is, because do you know what? At the end of the day, if you're spending £30, £40 on toys at a time, there's only so many people you can give toys to, and it might be the certain thing. So yeah, there we go. That is a hot tip. If you can't use it, if you can't sell it, if it gets returned to you, eat it. That's, definitely one of the best bits of advice I've heard. And yeah, I'd enjoy that. I would take advantage of the eating as well. Definitely.
Yeah, most of the time you can just put it into the 2-pack, 3-pack, or single, and then it will sell at some point. So it's fine. It's not.
Well, would you go as far to say then you only source stuff that that you like and you can eat if it comes back to you?
I don't know. It just happens that most of the items I have, seem to be within something I could use.
I think that's subconscious, Luke. I think you're clearly in stuff that you do like.
Or I can give to others as gifts, so it looks like I'm being really generous, but actually it's just, it's like Christmas. I could be like, that's part of the Christmas present, that's part of the Christmas present.
Yeah.
And then I go and get the $6.99 bottle of wine, and then we're done. So
yeah, I absolutely love that. That's one of my favorite things about being an Amazon seller. I said it on one of the first webinars I ever did, was I just said, you look so generous when you're an Amazon seller, because, if I get returns for toys and things like that, I go to kids' birthday parties, and, what I always say, it's terrible really, but if I get returns and I can't bother to take it back to the shop or something like that, I'll give it to one of my kids to take to a birthday party. I always make sure I find the mum And I say, oh, I'm really sorry. I say, Max sat on it in the car. So I'm not sure if the packaging might be a little bit damaged. Like, and they're like, oh, no problem, what at all. And then like a couple of days later at the school, they'll say, oh my God, such and such, they absolutely loved it. It was the best present they got. I said, oh, was the packaging really damaged? And they go, oh, just a little bit. Yeah, it didn't really matter. And then it was
so yeah, it was like, now and then the Disney dolls, because it's open in the cardboard, they get damaged. And I just build them up, and it's like 5 Christmas presents for the niece. I basically spend no money. Yeah. She gets like all these presents all wrapped in there, and it's just like a little tear here or a little tear there. Yeah.
Exactly. Be sensible with your returns. They don't always, people forget that at the end of the day. My kids get invited. My kids get invited to loads of birthday parties and things like that. You've got to spend 20 quid each time. So at the end of the day, you've almost got to look at it as, yes, it's not money you're making, but it's not money you're physically paying out of your pocket either. So, I think it swings and roundabouts, and not a lot of people talk about that. So, yeah, hopefully that's a little bit of it was supposed to be a funny tip, but it is a genuine tip at the end of the day. So Amar says, oh man, I just listed Easter eggs on MF, all sold out. Now I hate the MF part. Really need to outsource this ASAP if it lasts. Everybody hates MF. Like, it's awful. I'm not going to lie. I know there are some people that say they enjoy doing it, but I don't know. I know you don't do any MF, do you, Luke?
I don't. Like 95, like for somehow, every item that was restricted and that whole thing that happened, there's only like 6 items that I couldn't send in or something. There's a couple of IKEA bits or whatever.
Yeah,
that was it.
It's a complete carbon copy of Talking to Susan last week, because of the business that she's in and what she does. She found she's not even had one product that she can't send in because of the type of products that she sells. So I think it does come down to the type of business that you end up putting yourself in, the area that you end up putting yourself in on Amazon, very intentionally as well. But when I say, oh, I hate MF and things like that, I know some people, I've been switching to MF on and off for the last week, probably something like that. And there is part of me, the first couple of days, I did quite enjoy it, the first couple of days. I thought, oh, okay, yeah, this is all right. And then the next day I was like, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. I'm thinking I'm the one that's got to pack that up because we've been, I hate prep, essentially. And I think, oh, God, when it's MF, I've got to do it myself. I've got to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I think MF's fine if you can get someone else to do it for you.
That's why I've not, that's why I've sort of stayed away from it.
Yeah, and it is profitable at this time of year, but what I don't want people to kind of fall into the trap of a little bit is MF does cost more than FBA, essentially. There is less profit to be made under normal circumstances with MF. Nobody can compete with Amazon FBA delivery costs at the end of the day. So there is going to be a little bit less profit. So people just need to take that into account. I appreciate at the moment that might not be the case because obviously MF is getting the buy box at slightly higher levels. But it's definitely it's definitely worth looking into from a long-term point of view, whether or not MF is going to be something you want to consider, what everyone wants to consider doing moving forward anyway. So Jackie said, selling MF question, do Amazon calculate their fees on the additional MF? I know, Jackie, sorry. I know you asked me this and I said I would find out. Now, Jackie actually asked me this question and she asked me yesterday, and sorry, I haven't got back to her yet. I don't know if you know this, Luke, but I didn't actually know the answer, and I'm always happy to admit when I don't know the answer, because we always build our MF delivery cost into the overall selling price of the product. So of course we'd charge the Amazon referral fee on that. But if you charge the delivery separately, are you charged the referral fee on the delivery charge as well? I've never done it, so I
wouldn't have any idea.
I Okay, that's fine. We will find out that answer. Do you know what? Is Sean still watching? Because I reckon he might know the answer to that. Sean, do you know the answer to that? If you do, can you post it in the comments? And do you know what? I searched the forums yesterday and I couldn't find it anywhere. No one seems to know. So I think what I might have to do is take one for the team, put a product on an AF and stick a delivery charge on it, and then see what it is, Jackie. But yeah, sorry. I don't still have the answer for that one. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to get that for you as soon as possible. So Sean says, hardly any sellers selling Easter eggs. As soon as they arrive to FBA, they're all gone again. Less sellers lately, I'm noticing. Yeah, I think that's just because people can't get the stock, to be perfectly honest, Sean. I think RA for most people is something that is not even being considered. I think most people are saying that delivery slots are opening back up again. Is that something you've noticed a bit, Luke? Or
no, I haven't. I look every day. There's like one or two websites that there's one website I can just buy as much as I want, but there's only so much I can sell of it. So yeah. It's like an overstock, but it's not going to change. So, that's not really going to do anything. And then there's another website where I can periodically just get stuff, but it's hit and miss if I can. And then the delivery, even something from Ocado. I just looked at Ocado today, and had one tonight. Half of it was shopping anyway because I needed to, because it's not as easy these days. So I've got to buy half of that. And I got one next Sunday, and then the one after, and that was literally. So I was lucky to get one a week, one slot a week, but I only found the other one for 2 weeks' time, literally today. And I even pretended I was at a different address or something just to see, like my dad's address or something. And it still said nothing. Tesco's and all that around me is zero.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna, it is what it is. So I'm not going to worry too much. I'm just going to try to do the opposite of worrying and just be proactive in the areas I can influence. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right there. I've got to do, I never thought I'd be sat on here talking about, food shops and things like that. But, the food shop in our household over the last couple of weeks has become our kind of weekly event for going out, essentially. So we're going to do ours tomorrow. We're going to do it quite early. And there are a couple of replenishables that I know are going to be in stock in the supermarket when I go tomorrow. So I'm definitely going to pick those up because I'm going to do the old scanny thing, the self-scan kind of thing. But I'm not actively going out to do RA. It's just I know they're going to be there. I'm going to be passing. I'm going to grab them. They're not really essential items, really, in the sense that they're not going to be in-demand products, but I know that they're in demand on Amazon at the moment. So just make sure if you are out, I was going to say out, no one should be out and about, essentially. No one should be out and about. But just make sure that if you do see something, if you do know that you're going to do your weekly shop and there might be a couple of extra bits that you can pick up without taking the piss, without, kind of taking the mickey or anything like that, then, just to keep an eye out for that because it all kind of adds up, essentially. Sean says Amar says, sorry, FBA seem very slow in processing inbound shipments along with longer delivery times. Anyone else noting this? Yes. Yeah. We've got hundreds of pending orders FBA at the moment, and I take it anyone that's FBA has probably got something similar. I probably sell less essential products than you, given what you've said, Luke. Are you finding the essential products are going out quicker?
I'm finding people seem to be so gung-ho at the moment. I don't even think people are looking at the dates. I've gone to some of my listings and it'll say 2 weeks shipping, like April 14th. Oh, this is now, but this is like last week, April 14th, April 21st. And that's why also I think like the merchant fulfill is getting the buy box because actually Amazon know that they can't send them out fast enough. So why wouldn't you put merchant fulfill as like the buy box for a while? But people all my stuff sells out like crazy anyway. Just I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not even looking; they're just clicking. So.
I completely agree because my husband Matt looked at our pending orders the other day and he said, "Well, we've got we've got 15 orders that, you know, are still pending from Wednesday last week or something like that. And I said, well, that's the standard thing of Amazon at the moment. We're about a week behind for FBA. It's taking about a week to process most orders and get them out. Some are going quicker than others, obviously. But Amar, yeah, you're not in the minority. It's happening for everyone at the moment. But on the flip side of it, I think it's very much people are very understanding of the situation. I had this I was talking to someone earlier today, and we were talking about delivery times, and that's why so many sellers are favoring MF at the moment, because they know that they can get it out a lot quicker than the FBA service. But at the end of the day, people do like paying for their Prime, and they like getting their free delivery, you know, however long it's going to take. And I think people are just really understanding of what's going on. Amazon are working their hardest to get better. I think when we start to see restrictions being lifted, it's going to pick up overall. FBA shipments going in were happening quite quickly a couple of weeks ago, but they do seem to have slowed down. You've just got to really expect everything with Amazon, that Amazon are handling themselves at the moment to be a lot slower, to be perfectly honest. I think, you know, that's really what it is. So where are we? Keep losing where I am with the comments. Sean says, yes, Tamar, but once they arrive, boom, in comes the sales. They sell out so fast. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, when stock is sort of touching down at the moment, it's just selling out phenomenally in certain areas. Umar's watching. Umar, good evening. Hope you're well. Jackie says, what ROI do you target for in your replens?
It can be anything, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I started thinking is many different things. So I think of volume over any individual percentage. Of course, so basically I look at the profit figure, and as long as it's not something stupid like 20p, you know, like it would take you some thousands and thousands to start making some serious money, and you know, anything over £1, whatever that percentage might be. If I've got enough capital, it's almost irrelevant how much. If I've got, you know, it doesn't matter. So yeah, it's dependent on capital. So I'm happy to work up down to £1, and that would obviously be because I haven't got a prep center. That's a prep center. I don't use a prep center, so you would have to raise that up to the equivalent, you know, including fees, if you're going to do that. Because it's more about the bigger picture and my average. So I look at the average month's ROI, net margin, you know, the profit figure, of course, and that's what I'll look at rather than any one individual product, because I can sell, you know, 500 of something at definitely at the moment, and £1 each, but that's 500 quid. Well, if I have 20 lines like that, and that's only my higher volume products, then I have tier 2, which might be slightly more profitable products, 3 quid to 5, and then I could have a lower bracket, which is like the 5 sales a month that I know doesn't really, you know, but that still gives you you know, tops it up, and it's the overall amalgamation, which is then what I look at rather than any one thing. So a lot of people do focus on one product and look at the numbers and the percentages of that and go, no, but actually, definitely when you're scaling, it's important to look at everything and then try to build a picture of not just any one thing, but the bigger picture of everything. That's how I've sort of gone about everything that I do.
So would you say, because I'm a firm believer, and there's no such thing as a set minimum ROI anymore, I don't think. I know that when I first started selling, probably when you first started selling, it was 50%. You know, don't go below 50% or £5 per item or something like that. As the years went on, that gradually reduced, and it became £3 and 30% and all these different types of things. But I suppose you can't really discount anything if it sells, and it sells for what you're comfortable in selling in. So my question kind of is really, do you think, I already think I know what the answer is from my own opinion and point of view, obviously, but is it better just to be consistently selling? So just selling kind of regardless, carry on regardless, sell.
It is and it isn't. One, if you're not VAT registered,
yes,
I suggest just being a bit more cautious, because I just went blasé. I was like, yeah, sales, let's get them.
Yeah.
And then I was like, VAT register, oh God, like what's it? And then when you've got to act, when you're competing with the non-VAT, you make even less on the 20% products, and that's where so each of its different stages are sort of different. But what was the question again? I just go off on one sometimes. And
oh yeah, no. I'm famous for that as well. Don't worry, I'll just go off on one. I suppose it's instead of doing it dribs and drabs, so you're less consistent with your processing. So just continue to and I use this very example today. It's my new thing I'm going to start saying, a bit like Dory from Finding Nemo, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Do you think it's best to just keep sailing? I can't believe I just sang.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of little bits. I would say, like, if you've only got $1,000 and you're brand new to Amazon, then but you're subscribed to all these services and stuff. Sometimes you can be like, oh my God, I've got to cover all these expenses. I have to find the best ROI products because I have to make as much as I can. So you can focus on a bit of a. It's always better to. I see it as the more cash I have in the bank, the more I'm doing wrong. Now it's not exactly like that because you do have a good Q4, you let everything sell out. Of course, you're going to have money in the bank, but you want to be trying to make some money somewhere. And actually, a good example I give you is that £1 product, I can get that money in and out in a day. So I can then make profit on the profit within a couple more days if let's say I got next day delivery and it takes 24 hours to come in. But if you go, I'm only going to go for 50%, so I'm going to be a little bit more cautious, then actually that might take 10 days or a week. So you might make, £3, but actually I could have turned mine over 3, 4, definitely at the moment, 5 times, because I normally get a next day delivery and it takes most of my stuff is taking 24 hours to book in. So within 48 hours, I'm almost able to get that product back in. So every 2 days I can use that profit to make more profit and more. It's about almost trying to, I know it's how difficult to think of all these different versions and things that you can do, but yeah, I think it is this. Don't be too worried about trying to find that perfect product sometimes. Definitely when you're a beginner as well, because you can't sell, you're restricted as well. So you have to be a little bit more gradual with it. You have to just, sometimes you might see a product, go, it's only selling 5 a month or 3 a month. You think, that's not worth looking at.
Yeah, that's not what I've been told. That's not what I've been told. It's acceptable to sell on Amazon. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, but you have to, but if you say, well, if I have 10 of those, then, if I have the money to buy 10, then you can pretend in your mind that's one product because it's all jams or something. So I'll pretend, and then that number is okay. So at one stage it wasn't okay, but now it's, now you've able to get it to a place in your mind which is okay. Because the end, that's where the actual end number actually becomes a point where you're happy with. So it is about just like we say, it's no right answer, but yes, it isn't. Sometimes you just got to go with it all almost. It's hard to really get everything I'm trying to say out, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that comes from predominantly, and it comes from kind of experience a little bit as well. You clearly said at the start of this, the reason you've settled on this and it's working for you now because you tried everything, and you know what works for you and you know what hasn't worked for you. So I think it's very easy for us to say that we've been selling for a long time, do this and do that, because there's so many hurdles you have to get over as a new seller. Like you say, first of all, you have to get over Amazon, signing up on Amazon, setting up a business, running a business. Then you have to find out how Amazon works. Then you have to find out sourcing. Then you have to find out how prepping works. And then you have to find out this and what type of products should I sell? In what niche? In what category? There's so many different hurdles to be able to get through. And you kind of need to try a little bit of everything, not pigeonhole yourself. But when you do find that thing, did you gradually kind of transition your business into that one area? Did that take some time?
I think what happened, the replenishable system, or whatever you want to call that, anything that I bought again, I just put into a spreadsheet because I bought it again. I'll be like, I'll look at that next time. I'll look for it, I'll look for it in the future because it's come back once. And actually, a lot of things come back at some point, even if it's every Christmas or every week or every day. Some stuff is always at the same price, and I sort of didn't, you naturally would do that as a seller anyway, even if you almost irrelevant to what strategy you have, because and I'd say Oh, I forgot the question again. What's going on here?
Yeah, no, that's me. That's me. Exactly. It's the way I ask questions to people.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Bullet effect, where I kind of I ask about 4 different ways of answering the same question in one go. But I think we've essentially got there, which is you got to try different things. You got to try different things. Find something that you like, and if you see it working, maybe focus a bit more of your attention on that. I suppose that's.
And it was because by doing this system, I was able to bring my expenses down, my overall expenses, which took pressure off me, which made me make better buying decisions, which also meant that I could start making realized profit from like the second day. And that to me mentally was quite powerful, knowing I didn't have to spend 14 days paying for everything. And it was more that actually helped my mentality, my mindset for the months that maybe you don't do so well.
Mm-hmm.
Just for me personally, because that's how I sort of was. I was a bit demoralized at times after you have a great Q4. But some people, they're full steam ahead all the time as well. So
yeah,
another little element that I sort of went for when I was looking at things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I do think 2020, we talked about this yesterday when we had a chat, I just think 2020 is just going to be Q4, for a lot of people. And again, I know some people are looking at it slightly different. I know some people are saying, and I totally believe this, by the way, there is a big recession coming. There's no doubt about it. There is, a big crunch coming, big recession, and it's going to be bad, essentially. But what I don't want people to be kind of worried about is that this recession that is inevitably coming once we're out of lockdown and out of this situation I think sometimes people get confused with recessions and what happens with people's spending habits. Recessions are generally massively affected by people for luxury items. I'm not saying that's always the case, but people do stop buying, but it tends to be things that people get to a point where they're comfortable in their life and they think, do you know what, I will upgrade my car, or I will do this, or I will go on holiday, or we'll do that. Those are the biggest things that are going to be affected by replenishable. The type of products that you sell, Luke, the type of products that I sell, the type of products that the majority of us sell on Amazon, and I don't want this to come across as arrogant or anything like that and say, oh, they'll never be affected at all, because we never know what's going to happen. But they've got much less chance of being affected or impacted than certain products being sold on Amazon. So just imagine right now, you're a private label seller and you are selling, I don't know, like a travel accessory product. And that's what you're purchasing and importing from China. You're in travel for that particular. Your business has probably just been lost overnight, essentially, from 2 points of view. One, you can no longer sell that product FBA. You can't send it in FBA. And 2, obviously, no one's traveling at the moment. Whereas the type of products that we sell on OA, so anyone that's sort of saying OA is dead and this and that, they're the everyday products that people always need throughout life, depending on whatever is happening in the economy. Even things like toys. People still want to give their kids birthday and Christmas presents and things like that, even in our sort of toughest times. This is going to be bad. I'm not going to lie, but it's kind of good to be in this area of Amazon at the moment. That's my thoughts on it anyway.
Another thought I had as well is I make like the same example that you said, but why are people buying that? Why would people pay that? That's like, and I go, well, we don't need to cater to 100% of just the UK population. We only need to look at the top 5 or 10% that may be the people that look to buy it. And there's always people, that will buy it, obviously working its way down. There'll be some people that will say it is too expensive and they'll probably never buy off Amazon.
Yeah.
Or they might just buy the odd item if they really literally have to desperately. But we don't need to cater, there's a little bit for everyone, and we don't need to cater to every single person out there. It's just needs to be a minority, and that's all we need. So, and when there is these sort of issues like with the recession and that, there's always going to be those people that like are able to afford it and they don't see the same impact that others do, because we don't need to cater for every all types.
Absolutely. So guys, don't be worried. It is going to happen, absolutely. But if you stay focused and you kind of concentrate on what you're doing, and you're in the right market at the right time, good things can happen. Absolutely. There's a lot of opportunity about this. Sean says, I'm learning so much about VAT products, selling more non-VAT products and profit margin over 100% ROI on some of them. Having stuff for breakfast is an example.
It probably means like porridge or cereal or something.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Like, I didn't know if Sean was talking about what we were talking. He's getting his returns back and having them for breakfast. Sorry, I didn't know that's what they meant. So Amar says 100%. I think he was replying to something. Amar says again, I thought it was just me with the damaged packaging. Ha ha ha. Yeah, no. If you're not doing that, you're missing a trick. Luke, do you only do OA? I've done some RA, but feel very embarrassed when clearing the shelves.
I used to do RA only because there are higher margins you can make, and when you have less capital, sometimes you decide to do that because you don't have a lot of money to play with. So I started there, and then eventually I moved to OA when I had enough cash. But with that, you could put something in your basket, scan it, and then just walk back around and put it. You can put stuff in your basket. Just looks like you're buying it, and you don't have to be. When you're scanning it, like for a seller's app or any of the other app, you can just scan it away, and you don't even have to be looking at your phone because it's just got to be roughly on the screen to pick it up, and then you can look like you're just texting or something, WhatsApping, and no one really even, like, as far as I was concerned, no one really knew, but that was just me.
I think that's the thing. We're all more self-conscious of ourselves, but really, in fact, probably no one's even noticing. No one's interested. The only time when people get really interested, and I quite like this sort of thing, to be honest, because I think, I kind of know something you don't. I've been in a lot of RA situations where we've gone in specifically to clear the shelves on a certain item. I always try and leave the couple for case of fairness. I think it's good karma anyway, essentially. But there was this one particular instance where I was in a shop with it was Tesco's. I was in my local Tesco's, and there was another FBA seller in there at the same time, and we'd gone in specifically. I don't know if it was a pricing mistake, but we'd gone in to buy these huge Nerf guns that were marked down to like.
I know which ones you want about.
Yeah, it was a really famous deal.
Like £8.50 or something.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah, they were like, I think like £8.
And it was like £50 or something. You could sell it on like Rhino blasters or something.
Yeah, I think it was the Rhino one. Yeah, I think it was.
Like,
and
I thought you put it on the screen. It's too much. Yeah.
It was huge, and we found out that this local Tesco's, because we got quite a few Tesco's in our area, and we did a round robin on all.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, we did it. I think everyone that was in the business at the time cleared out their local Tesco, and we were the first one in there. And there was another FBA seller in there who I knew on Facebook. I didn't know them, but I saw them on Facebook, so I knew they were FBA seller. And we were loading up our trolley with all of these Nerf guns, like one after another. I think this Tesco had like maybe 20 or 30 of them or something like that. And we were loading them up. And there was 4 of us in there doing it. And these guys that were in there, there was a couple of guys, they did not know what was happening. They were getting so flustered that they were getting serious FOMO because they were missing out. They didn't know what was going on. And they were like looking around everywhere and everything like that, to the point where the guy actually went to go and take them out of my trolley. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, oh, sorry, I thought you were like stacking them. I was like, do I look like I work here? It was really funny. And I can't remember the point of what I started with that anyway. But the whole embarrassment of it. That's the only time when it's really been an obvious thing. And I think now with the scan and click now, that really that helps with the embarrassment of it, where you don't have to go through the checkout. You can just scan as you go. So maybe give it another go, Amar, once we're out of lockdown, obviously. I think that's good. So it's funny. Emily just said, I leave one, then I don't feel so bad. LOL. Yeah, I do the same. I maybe leave 1 or 2. I just don't know if it's just good karma or whatever. Yeah, great idea. Paul says, could you explain outsourcing a bit more? Do your products go straight to Amazon with your business name? I don't know if that's like a private label question or something along the lines. You can use a prep center to be able to send your goods. You send your goods to the prep center that you purchase directly from a retailer, and they go to the prep center, and the prep center sends it to Amazon. But obviously it is the account is in your name, essentially. So when those goods go on Amazon shelves, you have an FNQ label on them. So when it sells, when they scan it, it knows that sale is attributed to you. If that's not what you mean, just explain. We can explain it a little bit more. So Sean said MF is mostly 15% fee on your total, say $9.99 sale. If you're adding a $3.99 delivery, you still pay the 15% fee on $3.99 delivery cost too, just like eBay, other sellers. Otherwise, sellers would charge $9.99 delivery and say $3.99 for the cost. So that makes total sense. That's something I did think about last night as well, but honestly, I didn't know the answer. So thanks very much for clarifying that. So it just looks like it's a referral fee, or 15% or 15.45% in Europe for certain products, if that's the case. So yeah, no getting around it, Jackie, by the sounds of it, regardless of whether you put free delivery or a delivery cost for MF. So Amar says, haha, Nat, you're hilarious. Oh, that was my Dory thing. Yeah, I'm not gonna sing again. Amar says, how are you packing the Easter eggs so they break? If FBA own, I just put heavy items in the bottom half of the box and the eggs on top with bubble wrap, and they're there to stop boxes moving. Oh, okay. I think
it means within. I can't see who it is on here. They mean within.
Oh, that's Sean that said that.
They're within the box. It doesn't rattle or something, I guess.
Oh, right. It just keeps them, because they're packed in a certain way.
They're in a box, aren't they, themselves?
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I think that when it comes, and this is from a consumer point of view, and I do like to think from a buyer's point of view, if I got an Easter egg through the post and it was like smashed up, I don't think I'd really care. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I would just eat it.
Unless it's a gift. Unless it's like maybe for a kid and it's got like some, I don't know.
But then I
don't really eat Easter eggs, so.
Then I'd do my trick. I would say, Max sat on it in the car. Yeah. Sorry, there you go. That's what I'm just going to use that as my get out through life on everything. But yeah, I don't really think I don't really think I've seen many people having issues. I've certainly not had any issues.
I have had some recent problems with Thornton's products, but only because I did receive some, and I had 3 boxes. I had them where like all of the contents is just rattled around basically.
Oh, right.
I have had, and actually another thing, which is even more important probably, is that some of the bag products, so they're not in a tray, they're in a bag, but they're all touching. Like 3 or 4 this month is where it looks like it's being heated, they've said, and it's then like solidified together, and it's in a block. And everyone said it must have got heated somewhere and then cooled.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's only just recently got warm, so it can't be anything like that that's sort of done as such. But I don't know, it's just.
Yeah, it's like certain products. I think if something happens, especially with confectionery and chocolate, that if it gets cooled or heated or too much or something like that, where the milk rises to the surface and it gets really whitey or
that's
something.
What they said as well, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say it's probably been cooled. Probably been heated, and then it's cooled somewhere along the line. So maybe in a truck or something like that in transit. I don't know, because if it's not being transferred in a food truck, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I mean, that retailer, in my experience, they're generally pretty good with returns.
Yeah, I don't worry too much about.
You just eat them.
I can't even do anything about it. Like that sort of thing. I can't do anything. I've got 0 input, so.
No.
If it happens, it happens.
I think it's certainly in the grocery category. You've got to be. There's not many returns. That's certainly in my experience. People just roll with the punches in grocery, and they just kind of accept. I suppose if it's your jar of mustard and the sill's broken or something like that, you might return it, especially if you're paying over the odds for it. But generally, in most cases, I think groceries is generally okay.
Yeah, that's the good thing about groceries is they're not really like. They're not in a fancy box or something. Like a Disney product might have a fancy, nice box. Mm-hmm. Well, you're not with replenishables. You just want the item inside. So there's less sort of aesthetics to the actual exterior.
Yeah, absolutely. So Christos has joined. Evening, Christos, Paul, Matthew, Anise, and a few other people have joined late on. We're probably going to be wrapping up in a few minutes anyway, but lovely to have you here. Christos says, RA is king. Can't wait to get back out in the jungle. Yeah, he's a real God. I do feel for you, Christoph. So I know you really do enjoy your RA. So you must be getting kind of itchy feet at the moment, essentially wanting to get back out there. So fingers crossed, all this madness will end soon, and we will be able to return to, I'm going to say normal life, but I'm not going to say normal life of Amazon, because obviously it's good on Amazon, really good on Amazon at the moment. And I think that it's not going to be the same for the rest of the year. I think we're going to be in a constant kind of, probably not as crazy as the last 4 weeks, but I think there's definitely going to be an uplift. Those quarters now are going to kind of merge into one. Possibly around summer, we might see a little bit of a dip, depending on what's going on with the economy and where everyone is and in life and what's going on with the coronavirus. But I think overall, from an Amazon seller point of view, when supply chains return back to normal, I think the outlook looks really good for 2020.
Yeah, the second half of the year, like it looks, it's just like I did quite well last month. I'm sure a lot of people did. And in my eyes, I was like, well, even if I didn't do anything this month, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's getting bad for a lot of people, but actually we're in one of the better positions. So 1 month of, or 6 weeks or 2 months isn't the end of the world, because we can then start doing double or triple, when it actually gives us the ability to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Amar said time. No, what did he say? Where would you suggest purchasing packaging boxes from? Certainly, all ours come from Kite Packaging. I think.
Let's go to eBay.
Yeah.
eBay. Don't even know if it's the cheapest either. Just click a button, it comes to me.
Convenience person. Yeah, I think Kite is probably in volume is probably going to be the cheapest, but you do have to buy by the pallet, and the more pallets you buy, the cheaper it gets, obviously, things like that. But in terms of, for MF packaging, if you know that you're only going to be MFing a certain amount, then eBay. I know eBay is where we get our poly bags and everything like that from. So yeah, definitely have a good look around just to see where it's going to be cheapest for you. Crystal says OA is my business, RA is my hobby. I just enjoy it. My excuse to get out of the house. Absolutely. I had Crystal a few episodes ago, and he was talking about his late night RA hobby. So fingers crossed it returns back to normal as soon as possible. So Akram said, did COVID affect orders positively or negatively? Well, it really depends what area of business that you're in. As I was saying earlier, if your private label business is a travel accessory product, probably going to affect it negatively, because that's the business that is essentially just dying at the moment, in terms of no one's traveling anywhere, no one's going anywhere, and it's not a non-essential item, so you can't really send it into FBA at the moment. Whereas if you do something more along the lines exclusively what Luke does, where all of his products that he's selling are considered essential items and products that people need at the moment and people really want at the moment, then his business has boomed. Have you looked back at this time last year? Have you got a fold of are you like double what you were doing this time last year, or treble, or something like that?
I think, what did we just have, March?
Yeah, March.
I think I only did like 15 grand in sales in March last year.
Yeah.
Because that's when I started to restructure. So it's like it's going to be about 3 times now. No, nearly like 3.8. We're going off last month, but I mean, probably looking for consistently. Maybe going to be doing. I think I can do 35 grand a month or something. With the limitations, which is again just about double.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you are heavily restricted at the moment in terms of, because
you
can't get the stock moving forward.
It's great, and it's also not. So
yeah, it's kind of swings and roundabouts. Do you think you'll look more into wholesale sources with this situation that's occurred?
Well, I know the reason I haven't gone to wholesale yet is because where I am is just the limitations of it. But I've thought to myself, like, those wholesale guys must be absolutely destroying it with they're just the pallets that they must be getting in, or I'm sure there's sort of logistical issues everywhere, but they'll probably be able to bypass sort of the restrictions that's been put on by the retailers, like, you know, that I would have, and they must be, yeah. But even if it was just like a complimentary side or an additional or 50%, that is where I want to, and it's safer, you know, where you've got more professional invoice and stuff as well. And that's, yeah. So overall, that is like a next year picture is where I want to be starting to try to, if I can, migrate across, because everything, actually, if you think about replenishables, is basically just everything you should be able to find at a wholesale anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's just so I just read a Mars comment, just keep buying. Yeah, I'm not going to live that one down, essentially. Yeah, so Akram, really, it really depends what business you're in, what niche you're in at the moment, what category you're selling in, because if you are an FBA seller who predominantly sells toys, you're probably a little bit screwed at the moment. But if you have diversified those toys into now selling MF, your business is probably doing really, really well, because Amazon are selling out of stuff. Amazon are really slow delivering on certain toys that are non-essential items. And it's still children's birthdays. It's still, you know, some kids don't get Easter eggs for Easter. They get a toy or something like that. So it really, I don't want to sound flaky, but it really does depend on what your expertise in your business is, or what area you're focused on in your business at the moment. Overall, in the groups, I would put my neck on the line, and I would say, if I had to put a percentage on it, if I had to put a for or against, I would say that there are more people that have been positively impacted by the coronavirus than not. Would you agree, Luke?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
So that's what, you know, that's our opinion on it. So what niches do you recommend? Well, again, that's another question for in normal times or corona times. In corona times, it's anything essential, so that qualifies under 6 categories, which I think is it beauty, health and personal care, pet. I've got it written down. Oh, here we go. Baby products, health and household, beauty and PC, so that's personal care, grocery, industrial and science or scientific, and pet supplies. So those are still considered to be the essential products that you can send in to sell on Amazon at the moment. But that list is broadening and expanding over, has been the last 2 weeks, and I think will continue to do so over the next couple of weeks as well. But I don't know, grocery I think is a really good one in normal times to be able to start in. Toys is always going to be good, but around Q4, you just got to try a few different areas, as Luke was saying earlier. Try a few different areas and see what kind of works for you and what's sitting nicely and what you're finding good to be able to source. Anything you want to add to that, Luke?
As I said, yeah, don't limit your. I think I was selling toys for ages. My whole first year was just toys. Maybe some DVDs back then as well. And then somehow I had help from a group, because Matt had a group called I've forgotten what it's even called now, but there was like a sub, one of his first courses is where there was a sub.
Oh, was it Advanced
Arbitrage? Yeah, that's the one. Advanced Arbitrage. So I was in that group, and then there was talk that was going on about getting ungated in topicals and health and personal care and beauty, and I thought, let's do this. And I didn't ever think, I thought, at the time I was like, no, don't need to. But actually, it was the best thing I ever did. And it only cost about 180 quid, and I got ungated in those 3 categories. And the categories do change all the time. So sometimes they're just open for everyone. And then toys were gated recently. There's an issue. Was it this Q4? Toys was gated for newer sellers, a lot of it.
So toys and games became more of a restricted category. Toys essentially wasn't. Toys and games wasn't. They restricted toys a lot more, and they restricted lots of brandy things that were really big at the time. So you could no longer sell Frozen products, or you could no longer sell what was another one? Star Wars products with the big films coming out. And that was very much the way the American market was going. And it was kind of, going down that route as well. But this has kind of thrown everything out at the moment. Then Amazon regated grocery when? Probably about, was it January or something like that? Maybe just after.
No idea. No.
Yeah. So now grocery, when I first started, it was gated. Then it wasn't. And now it is again. So, but obviously grocery is a little bit harder to do at the moment, purely because none of the supermarket. There's not really any RA opportunity at the moment, and you can't really get delivery slots.
Yeah.
If you're smart and you know where certain wholesalers are for certain types of products, then you're absolutely fine. But it really does depend on kind of your sources. But if you're starting out, I would just try a few of the different areas and just keep asking questions in the group and trying different things. Essentially, that's the only way that you can do it to get a feel for the business, whether it's for you or not. So Paul says, any experience with buying goods from China, or are you mainly using local stores? So yeah, most of the people in this group, we do have private label sellers, but we are mainly arbitrage and wholesale. We do a certain way of doing private label, but it's sourced from UK suppliers and things like that. So there are people that do Chinese private label in this group, no doubt about it. But I would say the main focus of this group essentially is probably arbitrage and wholesale. But if you've got any questions, feel free to post them, because we've all looked at it, or we've all done it at some point. So it's always worth asking the question, definitely. So Sean says, some private label sellers are getting massive drop in sales. All people want is groceries at the moment. Absolutely. So yeah, my point exactly. You've just got to go with what's hot and be able to pivot and be able to adapt your business to what's kind of going on at the moment. But Sean says he's saving 15 grand towards wholesale orders. Yeah, very sensible. And I think, a lot of people do end up doing that. It really does depend on your business and what's going on at the time. But I think Alex says there's loads of RA opportunity as well, and he said, it's Luke, legend. So there you go. Nice little compliment from Alex there.
Living still as well.
But yeah, he's absolutely right. There is loads of RA opportunity, definitely. I'm not sure if you're talking about now or if you're talking about generally. Personally, I'm not certainly doing any RA at the moment, but of course that's up to everyone. Whatever you feel comfortable with at the moment. So thanks for joining me, Luke. I really appreciate it. I can't believe it. It's like 25 to 9. Sorry, guys. I think Luke and I are both known for being talkers. So
that's great. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you all start these things out and you think, oh God, have we got enough to talk about for an hour? Have we got, we've got this and that, and
don't worry about that.
I know. When the conversation it flows. But thanks, everyone's asked some really good questions tonight. It's been really interactive. We really, really appreciate it. And I'm gonna call it a night now. Otherwise, I fear we could end up here till about 11 o'clock. The way it's going. But we do this every single week. So 7 o'clock, I have different people on every single week, and we always talk about something Amazon related. Obviously, at the moment, it's predominantly about the coronavirus and everything that's going on with the business in regards to that. So please make sure you join us next week. But thank you so much for coming on, Luke. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I loved it. It's great.
Yeah, you gave us a really great insight into your business and the success that you've achieved over the last few years. So everyone says, nice to see you. Nice to see you while. Oh, I think Vlad's saying he's been watching while he's sourcing. I think that's what he was saying. So nice to see you too, Vlad. So thanks everyone for joining. I hope everybody stays safe. I hope everybody continues with their Amazon success. Keep posting questions in the group, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you for joining, everyone, and good night, everyone. Thanks, Luke.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.